Tonight, our program includes a diverse panel who will set the stage for our discussion by briefly responding to some questions we have posed about discrimination.
I am one of those young professionals that wanted to live in a diverse community. I am not from St. Louis. I came here for graduate school and graduated several years ago and thought I would never stay in St. Louis. And I never wanted to stay in St. Louis because of the lack of diversity. I grew up in Chicago and I went to college in LA and I moved here and I saw no diversity. And I thought, this is not the place that I want to be. So to your point, young professionals like myself absolutely are challenged with this issue of diversity. And so what happened though was that I started getting into this work and I thought, wow, there is a great need and a great challenge here. So I'm going to stay here and work on these issues. And so I've stayed here. I've been here now 8 years, got married, had a baby. I'm planning on staying. But it has been a challenging past 8 years. And I want to talk about, just for the next couple of minutes, a few of the tangible pieces that are related to this conversation, that are really about inclusion. So what I have learned in the last 5 years of doing this work is that everyone loves talking about diversity. We have diversity in our mission statements, we talk about diversity around our boardroom tables, we have diversity statements on our website. And to me, if you really want to have this conversation, I don't care if you care about diversity. What I care about is inclusion. Because diversity is this group of people, right? Young, old, black, white, brown, biracial, gay, straight, all of that. But until we really come to the point where we say everyone, regardless of race, ethnicity, national origin, and all of the other diversity identities, is actually included and has an equal voice at the table, we are not really talking about what we need to be talking about. So my point with that is really, I'm just going to break that in a couple different ways. So when we are inclusive, there are some tangible things that we can be doing. So one is related to specifically at our workplaces. When we hear new accents, when we have employees with accents or coworkers with accents, how do we deal with that? So in a city in which we already know the demographics, right? We know that we don't currently have a huge immigrant population, so an accent is something new to us. So do we kind of gloss over when we're listening to someone? Do we ask them to repeat themselves? Do we ask them to write it down if we don't understand? Do we get annoyed when we don't understand? Because more often than not, that does happen. And we're human, and that's normal and that's natural, right? To get annoyed with something that we don't understand. I think to Governor Holden's point, when we don't know something, there's some fear and some uncertainty in that, but how do we actually deal with that? That's the conversation we need to be having. And then things like at the lunchroom table, like in the cafeteria. Are all the Bosnians sitting together and all the Americans sitting together? Are all the Latinos sitting together and all the Asian Indians sitting together? If that describes your workplace, let's have a conversation about that. How do we actually integrate folks so that we don't have that self-segregation? And I understand self-segregation happens and there is positives to that. But we have to, again, be talking about inclusion. So how do we invite people to the conversation? How do we, even if their lunch is different, even if they have these accents, even if they themselves choose to sit together and want to speak in their language, is there a way we can bring everyone together and say, you know, this is lunchtime, let's get to know each other, let's make this a little more personable and meaningful. And then things around competencies. I can't tell you how many times I have received and been the recipient of discrimination, and I was born in Chicago. People look at me and they expect that I will not sound the way I sound. And then when I start speaking, there is this look of sort of just surprise. I'm not supposed to sound like this. So if I'm not supposed to sound like this, what is someone from a different country who has an accent, who is highly competent, high level, professional, powerful, influential, all of these things, how are they treated? So I think part of that is, what are we doing on that surface, superficial level when we're approaching new Americans and immigrants? And then the fourth thing, and again, you know, a lot of this is so related and interconnected to culture and race and religion. The other day, someone used this cliche that I had never heard before, and it took me a second to understand it. And they said something like, oh, you look like the cat that swallowed the canary. I thought, what does that mean? And